Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Rivers Tuesday. This is our podcast where we continue the discussion from Sunday's sermon and talk about all sorts of things coming up in the life of our church. I'm here, as always, with John Teague.
Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I realize that's probably a recording faux pas because for some people it's not morning when they're listening to this, but it is right now morning, and the sun is coming up right over your head.
You.
Yes.
How was your Martin Luther King Jr. Day?
Wow, it was good. I got to get outside, went hiking, I smoked a pork butt, and it was a pretty good day all in all.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Did the meat turn out how you wanted?
It did, even though it was almost like emergency kind of thing because my smoker wouldn't fire up when I needed it to.
Oh.
So I lost 7 hours because I wasn't able to get back to it until I got back from hiking. And so then I worked on it, got it to light. Then I had to go to a totally different method, and I've already spent way too long on this, but had to go to the hot and fast method instead of the low and slow method.
This is what I need to know before we move on from this pork.
Okay.
Did you put that thing on before you left for your hike?
No, I couldn't because the smoker wouldn't
Okay,
light.
that was the issue. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But
So
was that your plan?
My plan was, yes.
So you
because
would have
I needed it
gotten
to
that
smoke.
thing started at 4 a.m.?
Yeah, I needed it to smoke it for 13 or 14 hours.
Committed.
So instead it was only 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it still tasted
and
good.
then it was late getting off the smoker, and we ate dinner late, but it tasted good.
Yes. Last night Jake made homemade soft pretzels.
Whoa.
And they were delicious.
Homemade
speaking
soft
of
pretzels.
food.
Okay. And you kind of did the shape with your hands there for
Yes.
anybody who's not watching.
We did the little
You braided
twist braid
Okay.
situation.
And then sprinkled some salt on them?
Some had just butter and salt, but then others he made this ooey gooey cinnamon sugar drizzle.
Wow.
And then powdered sugar. They were very good.
I would imagine those were the top hit with the kids.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
They were begging for more this morning.
Yes.
They were very good.
That's
Very good.
awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Sunday.
Okay.
Or before we do that, is there anything you want to touch on, maybe Quiet Waters, or anything coming up in the life of our church that we want to remind people of and invite them into?
Subtle hint, Maggie. You want me to talk about Quiet Waters?
Such as?
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit about Quiet Waters, and I realize that it's just a thing that no one really knows what it is because we've not done it before. But it is a weekend to get away and to spend time with the Lord and be together. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's Friday night from 7 to 9. So, I think come out to Johnston Woods and we'll have some time together that night, go home, get a good night's rest, come back on Saturday. And we start around 9 a.m. and wrap up at 4:30. So then there will be some sessions in between there. You're going to be able to, when you register for Quiet Waters, you'll be able to check a box that says, yes, I would like a personal prayer time. It's called listening prayer, where we just kind of listen for what the Lord has on his heart for you, and then pray those things over you. And so you'll have an opportunity to have a personal prayer time and be able to just be out in the woods and be away from the noise of life for just a few hours. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really looking forward to it, and I really want everyone to sign up. And we'll be communicating a lot of details for this in our weekly email newsletter. And one of those things is just that I don't want, when you register, I think the cost is $25 a person. And that's really to recoup some of the money for having to rent a place, a beautiful place like Johnston Woods, and then just some of the hospitality things along the way. But I don't want that to be a barrier. Mm-hmm. And we have some coupon codes that we would love to tell you about in that newsletter. And if I realize that many of us will need to find arrangements for our children, and that may require paying some people for childcare. And I'd rather you spend the money on that than paying for the event. So I'd rather give you a code so that you could come for free, and then take that money, that $25 or that $50 it would cost for the two of you to come, and apply that to whatever you've got pay for your childcare.
Yeah. So long story short, we don't let money be something that hinders you from coming.
100%.
If that's something that feels like it's a stressor, come talk to us. We'd love to help.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. I'm excited about that. All right, let's jump into Sunday. We were in week 2 of Ecclesiastes. What is kind of the general idea of what Solomon is doing in this section of Ecclesiastes?
Solomon's running tests. I think we called the sermon The Experiment.
Yes.
And he's trying to see if he can find life and meaning that sustains and fulfills him in all these different areas of life. And so he kind of runs several different tests. We looked at them as we walked through the text. And he comes to the conclusion that we've heard him say several times now: everything is hevel,
Yes.
vanity.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up.
Yes. And before he jumps into all those tests, he has this very uplifting line in verse 13 of chapter 1. He says, I applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. You promised the people that we would discuss this verse on Sunday. So what do you think he is getting at here? What should we take from this verse?
Yeah. Well, I said I didn't have time to kind of unpack that on Sunday. And that, to me, if I were just reading that real honestly, I'd be like, what does this mean that God has given us unhappy business? And maybe you're reading an English version that calls it an evil task.
Wow.
Wow. God gave us an evil task. What is Solomon meaning there? We have to be, this is where, it kind of helps to even have a tool where you like, what's the Hebrew word there? What is that? Unhappy. That's an interesting English word. Like, is there a word for unhappy in Hebrew? And it's this word ra, and it can be translated evil. In fact, it's translated evil a lot. Like an overwhelming majority of the time in the Old Testament, it's translated as evil. But that's when it is in the context of some kind of more moral situation.
Okay.
God cannot be morally compromised. So God does not give you evil to do. So that's where the context matters. And so they get this idea of bad or unhappy because that's the context of what Solomon's been talking about. This is a bad task. This is bad work. That word in the ESV that's rendered business. It's also the word for work and toil, which we see a lot in Ecclesiastes. And so God has given us, so to speak, this bad work of trying to find life in this world apart from him. And we have to be honest there that God has given us that. That comes right out of Genesis chapter 3 after Adam and Eve fall prey to the lie, and they agree with the enemy that perhaps God is not really good and he's holding out on them, and they eat the fruit he told them not to eat. And so God pronounces a curse, and that is part of that is like all the hard and the bad that we wrestle with in this world. And also part of that is our now propensity to try to find life apart from God. So, and all of it is to point us to the reality that there is no life apart from God, and therefore we must have him.
Yes. Yeah. He's just pointing to how broken this life under the sun is. He goes on to say, what is crooked cannot be made straight. What is lacking cannot be counted. So it's just, I think what I take from this is he's just affirming what we have experienced, which is that this world is broken. And a lot of times it makes no sense to us and we can't make sense of it. And even that's where he starts talking about how like you increasing in knowledge and trying to understand what is crooked and what is unhappy and what is broken about this life isn't going to help it. Just understanding it won't fix it. There's just nothing you can do that's going to fix the brokenness until Christ comes back and fully restores all things and makes all things new. It's just going to be crooked. And so I think that's part of what Ecclesiastes is doing, is just helping us like accept in a sense like that this life under the sun is just broken.
Yes.
Because of the fall. And so, yeah, I think that's what he's doing in this verse. So because of that, because life is hard, because it's crooked and it disappoints us, our broken response to that is to try to run these tests to fix this brokenness.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of tests that we run, and I think we can, if we're all honest, we can probably see ways that we try to run all of these or have tried to run all of these. So let's kind of just take it one by one and talk about what these tests might look like in our lives and how we might be trying to seek ultimate fulfillment through those things.
Yeah.
So the first one is pleasure, laughter, wine. You can kind of categorize all those under the umbrella of just seeking pleasure to fulfill us. What do you think that looks like today?
Oh, gosh. Well, disclaimer here, this isn't like all pleasure is bad.
Right.
Obviously, that's not what we're saying. We're not saying, hey, become monks that practice asceticism and just, deprive ourselves of all things good and happy, right? Like all these things can be, I think, found in other places in Scripture to be good gifts.
Yes.
In fact, even in Ecclesiastes, and don't worry, we're getting there real soon. These things are gifts from God, but when we try to give them ultimate meaning, or try to make them ultimate in our lives, or like, this is going to fix me, that becomes a problem.
Yes.
So when we begin to think like, I just need more fun in my life, like that's going to fill this hole, this ache in me, I think we're going to find that like there's never going to be enough fun.
Yes.
And we're kind of running from just dealing with the ache in our hearts, right? So, and I think that's a real thing for some of us.
Yeah.
And some of us have the means to like just
chase
to
it,
chase it, to travel as much as we want, to go see all the things that we want to see. And again, don't hear me. I'm not busting on that. But if that's what you're hoping will fill, the ache in your heart, or help, heal your marriage or your relationship with your mom, that's not that. I think you're going to find yourself like Solomon, frustrated.
Yes. Yeah. I think like experiences is a big way that in our circles that we seek to find life and to find ultimate fulfillment, and that type of pleasure is like, well, can I have like an awesome experience on that trip, or an awesome experience at that party, or with that group of people? It's just like, if we're not careful, we can be chasing to find life and put the full weight of our souls on that experience to satisfy us. And we will be very disappointed.
Yeah.
But what's tricky about all of this is like, because these are all good gifts, they are enjoyable. Yeah. And so they keep us chasing them, because to a degree, they do like temporarily satisfy, and there's something about our broken wiring that keeps going back, thinking, no, this time it won't be as temporary. This time it'll satisfy more deeper. And I think that we have to acknowledge even our broken tendency to keep running back to the same wells that run dry.
Okay, so how do you have an experience or go on a vacation and do it as gift, not like trying to gain?
I tried to lean into that on our 10-year anniversary trip this past year. I just tried to like think ahead of time, like, okay, this trip is not going to fix me. This trip is not going to like fix our marriage. This trip is not going to fix me as a person. Like, there will still be brokenness in me, brokenness in our marriage, brokenness in our experiences, even though this trip will be awesome. So how can I go into this trip, like you said, just receiving every moment as a gift, whether it fully satisfies me or not, and anticipating and going ahead and tried to go ahead and pop the bubble, like, this won't satisfy me. And I tried to remind myself of it all throughout the trip. And I think the trip, like, I personally experienced that trip with so much joy, because there was so much less pressure on that trip to fix me. And so when things didn't go like we planned. Like there was this one morning we woke up at like 4 a.m. and like drove a really long way and like brutally got like wind burned in the parking lot, stood in lines for a ticket, like all these difficult things we endured because we were going to see the sunrise and like the most epic part on this island. And it was just going to be everything, you know? And I knew, like, I kept telling myself, like, this isn't going to fix, you know, I tried to just like rehearse those truths to myself, and it was horrible. The clouds rolled in and we could not see a thing.
Oh, no.
And like the wind was so like aggressive. There was a point where I was like, I'm about to get blown off this mountain. Like it was just like rainy and cold and awful. And we just were able to laugh at that. It could have, if there was so much pressure on that experience to like fix us, we would have been devastated that it just totally failed. But we were able to just like laugh at it and enjoy it and be like, dang, that stunk, but like, oh well, and still enjoy like what the Lord did have for us in that moment. And anyways, but I just think life can be like that. Like if you are putting so much pressure and so much hope in your soul for that thing to satisfy you, then you're going to get really, really upset when life starts lifing, when it just like doesn't go how it's supposed to. And then if you are just like at rest and at ease and open-handedly receiving whatever comes your way, when life starts lifing, you can just like be at rest. So I don't know if that answers your question,
it does.
But that's a little bit of how I experienced it, or how I'm trying to lean into that.
And I think that's great. I think taking the pressure off it, popping the bubble, and knowing that this isn't going to fill me or fix me. This is not the end all be all. And here's what I would add to that. I think that submitting our plan to the Lord first is a huge part of this process. So Lord, we would really like to celebrate our anniversary this year in an epic way, and we want to submit that to you. And so like asking the Lord to lead you and guide you as you make those plans, like that's bringing him into it already, you know, and so that you can receive as he leads you, like this as gift, right? I think another thing is to not make foolish decisions about the trip. Like, I'll chase this, like I've got to be able to do this. This is going to do something in me. So I'll go further into debt for this, or, you know, same way to say it, I'll spend money we don't have, or whatever it might be, you know, I'll take from what, you know, we would normally do with that money, and I'm going to put it into this experience because I really think this is going to, you know, do something for me, right? Like, so that's another thing. And then I think turning everything, that all the joy that you experience, if you will begin to turn that back to God in thanksgiving and praise, then you are receiving it as a gift, and you're holding it loosely, and enjoying it and sharing it and just all those things. Because on that same trip, like a few days later, we did get to go on a hike that, like, I'm pretty sure has to be one of like the most beautiful hikes in the world, and we had great weather, and it was just like everything was perfect. And even there, I could have been like trying to take that experience and like make it fix something in my soul, and and that would have been easier to like almost believe that it was going to fix me because it was so good. But like the better thing to receive in that moment was just like letting all of that beauty and all of that good experience like overflow into worship and just like thankfulness. And that's so much better than trying to like take that good thing and try to like force it to fix something that it was never meant to fix. Yes. And let's be honest, we are not, I don't think we are actually like consciously thinking this trip will fix me. That's not, it's probably not what we're thinking. Maybe it's kind of what we're hoping kind of deep down below, but we might also just be hoping that this will distract us from and will allow us to escape from. I mean, I've joked about that so many times about driving out of town when things are hard, you know, and just like wanting to go somewhere and just escape it all, right? And that's like, there's there's gift in getting away,
Yeah.
and resting, for sure. But the problem is you're going to come back, and that you're
still here.
Your reality is still here. And so at some point, what I'm saying is, it's not like don't take the trip. It's just like, hey, take the trip, but still do the work, like
Yes.
that you need to do in your heart, asking the Lord to help with this thing that you're dealing with, or that you are tempted to run away from, or that you want to numb yourself from. Because we got to talking about trips, but a part of this whole experiment was Solomon deciding to cheer himself with wine, and to lay hold of folly, and to see if like that maybe there's life in that, and he found that there's not. And I think that sometimes that glass of wine, or that cocktail, or whatever that thing is that we reach for, the remote control, or the device, the gambling app, or the card game, on your iPad, or I don't know. I mean, I'm just like, sorry if I'm like going after all your stuff, but this is all, like, I got my own stuff, and that we go to try to like just escape.
Yes.
And I think until we've put some restrictions in our lives, and realize where some of those places are that we tend to run to numb ourselves, then we're not going to be able to sit in and allow the Lord to meet us in that hurt, or that fear, that anxiety, and then allow his Spirit to begin to do the healing work that needs to be done.
Yes. Yeah. That reminds me, this isn't necessarily on my algorithm, but I've picked up from like listening to podcasts that I think a big trend for women is like, they call it like mommy culture, like wine culture, where there's, I think, this like pervasive lie that I could see how it would be really believable, and I could see how like, oh, that'll feel good temporarily. To this lie is that like you are a victim of motherhood, because being a mom is hard. You now therefore deserve to have that glass of wine, and that is such a tricky lie.
Yes.
Because first of all, like, motherhood is hard, but it is a huge gift to be received and enjoyed. Like, we're not victims. We're not like, we don't now get to just do whatever we want because our toddler was hard today. And so, that lie of like, oh, now you deserve to have that glass of wine. You deserve to just do whatever you want. Like, go full-fledged into that novel that isn't like honoring to God and what the story it's telling, or in that TV show you want to binge, or just like doom scrolling. And there can be this lie that I think is just like, because being a parent is hard, now you get to go and do whatever you want once they're in bed. And I think that's what you were getting at on Sunday, was just like, most of us listening to this podcast know, like, we're going to heaven, we're going to be with Jesus at the end of our life. And so we're not looking for the most part, we're not looking to any of these things to like decide where we're going to spend eternity.
Right.
Like, that's settled. We're good. We know we have Jesus. But on Wednesday night, when the kids are in bed and we had a long, hard day, where are we running to? And I think that's when we start testing these things. And so, that was just one that I'm like, oh, I think that's important.
Yes.
What about for men? What do you think is something that is a lie that is being a little bit more susceptible for men to believe?
Are we still in this pleasure test, or are we just kind of like, we're sort of like broadening this out a little bit? We've opened it up. Well, one of these tests was like achievement. It was the achievement test, the productivity test. I tried to like, there are all different words we could use for these tests. I tried to like alliterate them with P's. So pleasure, then productivity, achievements, projects. There's another P for you. I think that this is probably where men want to lean in, and just, there's something, I said, virtuous and responsible and worthy in like achieving things. Like, hey, Genesis 1 and 2, God gave Adam a role, like go and like have dominion, kind of this idea of like cultivating. That's the word, cultivate, build, be fruitful and multiply. Like,
it's what you're made for.
It's what you were made for. Yes. And And so go do that. But if you decide that it's going to define you, it's going to determine your worth and your value, and then it's going to drive you like away from a lot of people
Yes.
in your life, and it's going to be what you pour your heart and soul into, and still it won't fill you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it might be a good diagnostic question for a man of like, hey, ask yourself this. And if you're doing X, Y, or Z, that might be kind of a red flag that you are putting too much of your hope or too much of your identity in productivity.
Gosh. When was the last time you took a real day off?
Yeah.
And why are you working so much?
Yes.
What's driving that?
Yeah.
Those questions might be helpful. I think, what are you trying to get out of your work? Is it affirmation? I think a lot of times as men, we can get pretty good at our work.
Yeah.
And we're probably, many of us are probably doing things that we think we're somewhat good at because we don't like doing things we're not good at. And so when like we're hitting a wall at home, parenting, or, like we're disconnected with our wives, and we don't feel like we're doing a good job there. And, it's like we tend to like start to lean into, well, I'm going to lean into the places where I know I can do a good job and where I get rewarded for it,
Yeah.
And I think that ends up leading us, more and more into work to find our affirmation, our fulfillment, our identity.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I think, just like men are going to be more prone to looking for life in their productivity, I think another trap for women is that we're going to be tempted in a unique way to test relationships and to test seeing if we can find ultimate fulfillment and satisfaction in how connected we are in our relationships. And this is unique to the curse that God gives Eve in the garden of like, your desire will be for your husband and he will rule over you. Like there's just going to be something particularly like broken in your relationships and in the connections that you long for. And so I think for women, we have to be on guard for how we will be tempted to find life in our communities and in our friendships, because friendship is one of those things that is a good gift, and it can it can look noble and it can look godly to chase finding our satisfaction in how good of a friend we are, how good of friends we have, and how deeply connected we are in our community. And I think we have to be careful, because community is a good gift, but it is not meant to be the be all end all. And so we have to watch out for that.
It's not union with Jesus.
Yes.
And so I think that's what we need to say about all these things, like otherwise we're just like, we're stripping all these things away. And if we don't replace them like with the real thing, or like what will provide that affirmation and that identity and that approval, that sense of purpose and meaning, or that sense of connection and companionship, that we all long for those things, right? Like it's like God has put that in our hearts.
Yes.
And now he sent his son Jesus to make a way for us to now have his spirit live within us and cultivate that relationship with him, and to remind us of how we are chosen and loved and approved, and we are his beloved, and that we have purpose and meaning, and there are good works that we've been designed to do, and we can find joy in serving him and bringing the kingdom of God into on earth as it is in heaven. Like it's what I'm saying is, I'm not like saying like, don't go on trips, don't hang out with friends, don't enjoy a glass of wine. That can be a real good gift.
Yeah.
I'm saying like like those are not good replacements for Jesus. And so we have to cultivate a relationship with Jesus. And if you're anything like me, like that means I got to get rid of a few things that I rely upon. Okay.
Yes.
This is something the Lord's speaking to me about right now. What are you dependent upon, John? Like, you depend on these certain things to be going well in order for you to be going well. And that's not depending on the Lord. And then I'm setting myself up to be disappointed and discouraged and defeated.
Yeah. I think a huge part of it is just having a rhythm of restoring your union with God. Because if you're not constantly coming back to him as your source of life and coming back to this water that will never run dry, like come back to the well and come back to him over and over and over again, because as you do that, I think you start to realize more quickly and you become more sensitive to when you try to go to other wells, if that makes sense.
For sure.
And so, yeah, I think like how are you structuring your day in such a way where you're allowing space, allowing moments, whether it should hopefully be like in the morning, you're starting your day in that way in some form or fashion, and then all throughout the day coming back to that, so that you're noticing when you're about to run to a wrong well, or when you have, and it's kind of broken your union with God. So what does that look like for you? You start your day that way, and then how are you coming back, or how are you realizing when you're starting to run to something else to depend on it?
Well, I think that just finding myself with my phone in my hand, and I've stripped away some things in my life right now on my phone so that there's not a whole lot there. So when I realize like I'm just looking at the weather again, I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with myself right now. And maybe I just put my phone back in my pocket and pray right now.
Yeah.
Just, Lord, hello, I love you. Thanks for sending your son, Jesus.
Yes.
Thanks for giving me what I need today. And so just throughout the day, there's more of that in my life. And I have been, for a little while now, really falling asleep to the Pause app. It's the only thing I'm allowed to do on my phone when I'm in bed right now, is to listen to the Pause app as I'm about to go to sleep. And it just leads me in different prayers. And those have been very helpful for me, especially at the end of maybe a hard day. I need to give all that stuff back to the Lord so I don't toss and turn all night. And I have tossed and turned all night, even after falling asleep to the Pause app. And when I've woken up in the middle of the night, I've begun to pray Psalm 91 and running to the Lord as my refuge and my rock and my fortress, the one who protects me, from the attacks of the enemy. And so, I think we need to I said this week 1 of January 4th, I think was the date. That Sunday, we walked through Psalm 73 and we ended with saying, I have made the Lord my refuge. And I talked about this, like, it's not a refuge. The Lord's not a refuge for you until you run to him to give you refuge.
Yes.
Refuge from the attack of the enemy, refuge from the lies that you're so like being just crushed with, to believe that your identity comes from all these other places, right? Whatever it is, you got to run to him in that.
Yeah.
So,
and not just refuge for like these like high level crisis things that we think of needing refuge for. Like, yes, it's those. It's like when everything in life is horrible and you're suffering, you need him as your refuge, but you also need him as your refuge in like the tiny little micro moments where life just disappoints you in like a subtle way, and everything in your brain and in your flesh is telling you, get on Instagram, that'll fix this little micro disappointment. And your brain is like, I need that little hit of dopamine right now. Like, what if instead of running to your phone or running to distraction, pleasure, comfort in those moments, what if we took refuge in the Lord in those moments? And I think that's when we'll really start to see like our brains changing and us looking more and more like Jesus when we like run to him for refuge in all the little moments and the big moments.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll be back next week.
See ya.